Prose is the most typical form of language. The English word prose is derived from the Latin prosa, which literally translates as straightforward. While there are critical debates on the construction of prose, his simplicity and loosely defined structure has led to his adoption for the majority of spoken dialogue, factual discourse, as well as topical and fictional writing. It is commonly used in literature, newspapers, magazines, and many other forms of communication. Prose is considered one of the two major literary structures. It lacks the more formal metrical structure of verse that is almost always found in traditional poetry. Poems often involve a meter and rhyme scheme. Prose instead comprises full grammatical sentences, which then constitute paragraphs and overlook aesthetic appeal. One author who wrote some of his work in prose was Ralph Waldo Ellison. He was born on March 1, 1914 in Oklahoma City. He was a novelist, literary critic, scholar, and writer. His father died when Ellison was 3, and his mother supported herself and her son by working as a domestic. From an early age, Ellison was interested in music and books, and his mother brought home for him from the households where she labored discarded phonograph, records, and magazines. Ellison began reading Hemingway in adolescence, and later he became interested in the poetry of Eliot. Ellison told Mike McGrath of Newsday, "I began to look at my own life through the lives of fictional characters. When I read Stendhal, I would search within the Negro communities in which I grew up. I began, in other words, quite early to connect the worlds projected in literature and poetry and drama and novels with the life in which I found myself." In 1936, he went to New York City Federal Writers Project and met Langston Hughes and Richard Wright. The latter encouraged him to write and introduced him to the novels of Joseph Conrad. In 1939, Ellison began contributing short stories, book reviews, and essays to the New Masses and other publications. During World War II, Ellison served with the United States Merchant Marine. After the war, Ellison spent most of his time working on his novel titled Invisible Man. This novel was published in 1952, and it is the story of a black man who lives a subterranean existence in a cellar brightly illuminated by electricity stolen from a utility company. The book recounts his grotesque, disenchanted experiences. When he wins a scholarship to an all-black college, he is humiliated by whites. When he gets to the college, he witnesses the school's president spurning black American concerns. Life is carved outside college, too. For example, even religion is no consolation. A preacher turns out to be a criminal. The novel indicates society for failing to provide its citizens, black and white, with viable ideas and institutions for realizing them. It embodies a powerful racial theme, because the invisible man is invisible not in himself, but because others, blinded by prejudice, cannot see him for who he is. The mode of the opening of Invisible Man is realistic, since the imagination and the irrational part play an important role in the story. The Invisible Man has created his own world within a hall with hundreds of blazing lights. This is his reality, a reality made out of mystery, dreams, hallucinations that he's only able to see. In his world, he talks to people that only exist in his mind. He fights with men that are part of his dreams. He listens to music that leads him to picture things that do not exist. The invisible man's reality breaks with the rational, and the imagined part is found throughout the opening of the story. The mystery, the imagination, and the irrational characterized surrealism. That's why the opening falls within this movement. The prologue influences the way we read chapter 1 since it prepares the reader to get acquainted with the issue or to picture the scenes or events that will happen in the battle royal. The prologue introduces the issue to which the narrator has been objected during many years, and this issue is racism, so it portrays how black people are seen and treated by a white society. So in the chapter 1, the group scenes that are described here are the proofs that support what the narrator stated at the beginning, in the prologue. Black people are humiliated and considered as unworthy individuals only because of their color. The way in which the story is narrated underwent a fundamental change among the prologue and the following chapters. In the prologue, the character is living in the present. That is why he narrates the events that have been occurring in his life currently. He talks about his dreams, hallucinations. He also describes the room where he's living at that moment. However, the way in which the story is being told changed in chapter number 1, when the narrator moves the story to 20 years ago, when he was a young and naive boy. He narrates with details the humiliations to which he was subjected by white people. He also describes the battle royal to which he was forced to participate. The fundamental change is that the narration of the story changes from present to past.
Concerning question number 2, the first humiliation to which the narrator is objected is when he is forced to fight blindfold with other black guys in front of a white audience. They are placed in a ring where they have to hit each other to entertain the public. The message that it conveys is that black people have a violent nature. They behave like animals, and that is why they are taken to give a savage show. Their black color is often associated with bestiality and brutality. The second emulation is when the guy is told to pick up coins from an electrified rod. It might mean that black people are seen as starved individuals that will always depend on the white race to survive because they need the money to feed themselves and their families. And since they want to get benefits from them, they have to endure all the physical or verbal abuse that they might suffer from the white race. Finally, the third humiliation occurs when the white audience laugh and make fun of the black guy's speech. The message that it communicates is that black individuals are seen as silly people that only say stupid and ridiculous things. That is why they don't deserve to be listened. This humiliation reveals the wrong idea that the white race has. They consider themselves as the smart race and the ones who are able to think and say wisdom words.
When the black boy says to the white audience that he was swallowing blood, he meant by that he was not being intelligent at all. He was carried away by the pain that he was experiencing, and that's why he was not able to think in a clear way. Consequently, he couldn't express his ideas coherently. The subject of the story can be an act of swallowing blood, since publishing a novel which thinks racism and written by an African American writer cannot be that convenient, because the literary tradition was mostly dominated by white writers, so these types of novels probably were not well received by a white audience. Putting the phrase swallowing blood in a different context, taking into account the author's life, these words might mean that the writer was keeping all the pain, suffering, and bitterness that he had because of all the humiliations and difficult situations to which he was objected, simply because he was a black author, and although it was not pleasant to be exposed to such situations, he should continue writing. So when he wrote this phrase in his novel Invisible Man, he was conveying a message to the white audience. He couldn't say it publicly, so he found this as a means to express how much he was suffering for being discriminated